Hello everybody! This is the first online video lesson that we're gonna do, and some of these lessons are gonna be you will see my face, but for this one I wanted to just show you the actual worksheet that we were gonna be going over our first class back together. This was assigned last class, whenever that was, and we went over it in class at first, and basically what this was, we were talking about rhythm, and scansion being the analysis of rhythm in poetry. Anyway, so this was a worksheet designed to help you guys start breaking that down a little bit. It really is not that complicated once you get into it, as far as the emphasis on sound, the importance of sound. So that's what we're going to talk about here with Edna St. Vincent Millay's poem Witch Wife. So one thing before we get into this, remember, scansion is an inexact science and is heavily influenced by pronunciation, which can vary geographically and temporally, meaning over time. Alright, so just a recap. In order to determine the meter of a poem, we must first identify the number and order of stressed and unstressed syllables within each line of poetry. After reading the poem several times, silently and out loud, rewrite the lines in the blank spaces provided on the back of this worksheet. Count the number of syllables in each line. Write in what you believe to be the appropriate stressed and unstressed markings over each syllable. The trick to finding the unstressed and stressed syllables is to say the line in a very natural way over and over. Listen each time for the beats or emphasis. Alright. I'm going to grab this highlighter tool. Alright. So this poem, I'm just going to read the first stanza. She is neither pink nor pale, and she will never be all mine. She learned her hands in a fairy tale, and her mouth on a valentine. Alright, now stanza 2. She has more hair than she needs, in the sun 'tis a woe to me, and her voice is a string of colored beads, or steps leading into the sea. She loves me all that she can, and her ways to my ways resign. But she was not made for any man, and she will never be all mine. Alright, so if we listen to that over and over, if you say it a couple of times, if you listen to it a couple of times, you'll notice there is a sound pattern that develops. Da-da, da-da, da-da-da. Da-da, da-da, da-da-da. And her ways to my ways resign. But she was not made for any man. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And she will never be all mine. Da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Alright. What I'm trying to do there is show the sound of the syllables, even without the actual words themselves. The emphasis that's created by that pattern there. Alright. So this might differ depending on how you say it, but remember we went over this first line together. She is neither pink nor pale. She is neither pink nor pale. Remember, guys, what I said about if you're not sure, try saying it the opposite way. Try emphasizing the opposite syllables, and it will sound really freaking weird. So remember, she is neither pink nor pale. That's normal. What does not sound normal would be the opposite. She is neither pink nor pale. That's not normal speech pattern. It doesn't really sound right, and it doesn't do the job that this emphasis does, that the actual emphasis does, which is to emphasize ideas, the kind of the important parts of this thought. She and what she is and is not. And honestly, this will continue throughout. Now, when we talked about previously about identifying meter, so first we have to identify what syllables are there. Then we find where the emphasis is, which I've done here. And I was like, some parts are going to be tricky, like you're not going to be exactly sure how they work out. That's why I highlighted this part previously, because it's a part that sometimes people end up having a different like analysis of, you know what I'm saying? But remember, guys, you can argue pretty much whatever you want. I'm not just saying it. Alright, so anyway, back to meter. So we're going to go to the Poetry Bootcamp packet. Remember, guys, this is in Blackboard in the Poetry folder. Scroll down here to Fundamentals of Poetry. So just a quick recap. Meter is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables established in a line of poetry. So it's just the emphasis or lack of emphasis in a line of poetry. Remember, a foot is a unit of meter. It's used to measure basically the syllables in the line, the sounds in the line. Excuse me. A foot will usually have 2 or 3 syllables in it, but sometimes you'll find that things are broken up unevenly. It's not a perfect or exact science, so just kind of do your best, honestly. Alright. So we've talked before about iambic pentameter, for example. Remember, iamb just being one type of metrical foot. Pentameter saying how many feet are in here. Penta, let's scroll down to kinds of metrical lines. Penta means 5. So there are 5 feet in that type of meter. Pentameter, iambic pentameter. Alright. Scrolling back up here. So let's look at our poem here. Zoom in a little bit. She is neither pink nor pale. Stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Well, we'll go back to our graph and see our chart and see what pattern matches stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed. Not the first one. So it's not iambic. Because iambic is unstressed. It's a trochee. Trochaic. Stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed. Irish poets learn your trade. She is neither pink nor pale. Alright. What about this line? And she will never be all mine. Well, and she, I know I hear it on she, and she will never be all mine. I know for sure ne and be and mine. Let me say it the opposite way to see how it sounds. And she will never be all mine. No, that sounds really weird. So I think it's right this way. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Well, that's iambic. That's iambic right there. That's an iambic line. Let's look at the next line. She learned her hands in a fairy tale. Fairy tale. It's got 3 syllables there. She learned her hands in a fairy tale. Well, I hear learned. I hear it on hands. I hear it on fairy tale. Fairy tale. Fair and tail have a lot of emphasis. Let me say it the opposite way. She learned her hands in a fairy tale. That sounds kind of weird too. So this is one of those lines that I think is kind of tricky, as well as the one that I have highlighted down here. But I'm pretty sure she learned her hands in a fairy tale. I'm pretty sure that's the emphasis I'm hearing. So unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. She learned her hands in a fairy tale. Unstressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. So let's see how that works out. Well, unstressed, stressed is iambic. Iambic, that's one iamb right there. Unstressed, stressed. That's one I am right there. Unstressed, unstressed. Stressed. Unstressed, stressed. Is there any type of meter that matches that? Unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Let's see. Yes. Anapest. Unstressed, unstressed, stressed. So that foot is anapestic. I am, right here, one I am, one I am, one anapest, and then it goes back to iambic. So, it's not so much that the lines have to conform to a certain meter, although some forms of poetry do require certain type of meter. But this is more so just an evaluation of the rhythm, and to see if patterns do emerge. So I think if we found any other lines that have this 3-syllable here, she learned her hands in a fairy tale, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I think that would probably fall in the same type of meter. Alright. So, basically you would continue through the rest of the poem, just analyzing in that fashion, trying to determine what is the meter of each line. How is sound being used in this poem? Sometimes people do rely on rhyming. Sometimes people do rely on harsh and soft sounds. Other times poets might just write in a much more prose style, where they're not really worrying so much about sound. It might just be happening sort of accidentally, or at least less deliberately.